Lisa Cecilia Hardam's story is a shocking example of how love can turn into a nightmare. She thought she had found the perfect partner, but her fiancé turned out to be a controlling tyrant. He turned their luxury apartment into a prison, complete with 24-hour surveillance, just to keep her under his control. This kind of behavior, where one person tries to dominate their partner through fear, power, and humiliation, is sadly not rare. Often, victims don't realize they're in a harmful situation because they're made to feel afraid and guilty. Lisa's case became an international scandal, grabbing headlines worldwide. Her fiancé tried to make it seem like she was mentally unstable and that his cruel actions were either an accident or something she chose. Despite his wealth and connections, he couldn't escape justice. Lisa's story shows the terrifying consequences of being in a relationship with a controlling person. It's a powerful reminder of how someone can hide their true monstrous nature behind a mask of love and care. Lisa Cecilia Hardam was born in Canada on June 12, 1981, in the suburbs of Toronto, and was the second child in the family. Lisa was brought up together with her older brother Jason, with whom she has always been very close. They were raised independently by their single mom, Joanna. Brother and sister did not remember their father because he left the family when the children were very young and no longer took any part in their lives. Lisa Cecilia grew up as an active and purposeful girl. From an early age, she was involved in sports with her brother, went to martial arts classes, and liked to play soccer and volleyball. However, her main passion was ballet. She visited the dance studio daily, where she practiced at the bar for several hours. The girl was tall and slender, but professional ballet classes required the strictest diet, which had a detrimental effect on her growing body. During adolescence, Lisa developed anorexia due to eating disorders. For a long time, she kept silent about her problem, believing she could cope with it herself. When her weight approached critically low levels, her mother sounded the alarm and admitted her to a clinic, where Lisa spent several months to restore her health and gain weight. After graduating from school, Lisa continued dancing and decided to connect her life with the beauty industry. Alongside her university studies, she got a job as a perfumer in a store of a large cosmetics chain, and in her spare time, she studied makeup and hairdressing. In 2005, after celebrating her 24th birthday, Lisa decided to make drastic changes in her life and move to Australia for a warmer climate and to see the world. She took a one-year work visa and traveled to another continent, accompanied by her mother, Joanna, who ensured Lisa settled well. Lisa settled in Sydney, rented a cozy apartment, and soon got a job at a local small cosmetology company. After her visa expired, she decided to move to Australia permanently, extending her stay for another year, and then preparing the necessary documents to obtain citizenship. Regarding her personal life, things were not easy. Lisa always preferred to date older men, likely due to the absence of a father figure. In 2006, she was hired at Sydney Cosmetics and began a romantic relationship with a co-worker almost twice her age. They decided to live together, and Lisa moved into her lover's apartment. After a few months, she introduced him to her family, who approved of her choice. They traveled extensively, visiting the Seychelles, Paris, and the famous carnival in Rio de Janeiro. The man proposed to Lisa, which she accepted gladly. However, about a year after the engagement, they broke up, with Lisa hinting that the significant age difference played a role. In 2010, Lisa graduated from Sydney College of Stylists and got a job as a hairdresser in a popular beauty salon, quickly earning the respect of colleagues and customers. A new boyfriend appeared in her life, but their romance was short-lived because Lisa discovered he was married. Not wanting to destroy someone else's family, she quickly ended the relationship. Shortly before that, at a party, this guy introduced her to his friend, a businessman named Simon Gitney, an acquaintance that would turn out to be fatal for Lisa. Simon Gitney was born in Maryland in December 1973 into a very religious large family of Lebanese immigrants. He had 5 siblings, and his parents raised them in strictness and obedience. However, Simon had problems controlling his emotions and outbursts of anger from a young age. He was possessive, did not tolerate rejection, and often resorted to violence. These issues led to serious legal problems. Simon first went to jail at 18 when he harassed his ex-girlfriend at her workplace. After being thrown out by the store owner, he returned with friends and severely beat the owner. He served a few months and was released on bail for good behavior. 3 years later, he was arrested for theft but resisted violently, biting off a policeman's earlobe. He faced a severe sentence, but the pastor of his family's church intervened, resulting in Simon serving only a year and a half. In 2000, he was arrested for possession and distribution of illegal substances, but again received a lenient sentence, serving 2 years out of 4. After his release, Simon seemed to reform, moving to Sydney and founding a successful luxury women's shoe business with friends. This business brought high income, allowing Simon to quickly become rich, acquiring luxury real estate, a premium car, and carefully hiding his criminal past from his roommates and lovers. At the party, Simon and Lisa exchanged phone numbers, and Simon soon called her. Their relaxed communication grew into a close relationship. In January 2010, when Lisa expressed her dissatisfaction with her current living conditions and her desire to rent an apartment in another neighborhood, Simon offered his support. Itani kindly offered Lisa to live for free in one of the rooms of his luxurious apartment while she was looking for a suitable place to rent. Lisa accepted the offer, although her mother was somewhat alarmed by this turn of events. However, Lisa convinced Joanna that it was a temporary measure and that she and Simon were just friends. At the time, Lisa herself thought that the man who so carefully monitored his appearance and adored piercings preferred to build relationships with guys, but this opinion turned out to be wrong. For the first couple of months, Itani really kept his distance. The young people lived in separate rooms, and there was not even a hint of intimacy or romance between them. But gradually, they got closer, and the so-called spark started a romance that quickly gained momentum. At the beginning of their relationship, Simon was 37 years old, and Lisa was 28. Simon seemed to her a beautiful prince from a fairy tale. He was sociable and cheerful, spoiled his beloved with gifts, and arranged pleasant surprises. The couple began to appear everywhere together, particularly going to an elite sports club that Simon had attended regularly for many years. Lisa was sure that she had finally met her true love and would live a long, happy life with her chosen one. She raved about him to her mother, brother, and friends, having no idea that this fairy tale would soon end. Just 6 months after the beginning of the relationship, Simon's behavior began to change. It happened in stages and in such a way that Lisa did not notice anything, thinking that her lover did everything for her own good. He gradually distanced Lisa from friends and family, erased all her personal boundaries, and tried to change her views, tastes, and behavior to suit his needs. In June 2010, shortly after Lisa celebrated her 29th birthday, Simon began to persistently persuade her to quit her job, claiming that she was not valued there and could find a better paid position. But Lisa loved working at the beauty salon, where she had many regular clients and was happy with her income, so she didn't understand why she should quit her job and refused to do so. Simon was not satisfied with the refusal. In August of the same year, he showed up at Lisa's salon and caused a loud scandal, which forced her to write a letter of resignation. Lisa was shocked by his behavior, but Itani assured her that it would be better and that in general she could no longer work because his income would allow them both to live comfortably without denying themselves anything. A month and a half later, the couple moved into a new luxury apartment located on the 15th floor of an elite residential complex. As it later turned out, the room was literally stuffed with hidden surveillance cameras, of which Lisa, of course, did not even guess. Simon gave his beloved an expensive smartphone and laptop, pre-installed with spyware that allowed him to track all her messages, emails, listen to calls, and see all of Lisa's movements. Additionally, Simon gained access to her social media accounts and began to discreetly clean her friends lists, delete posts and photos at his discretion, and read personal correspondence. Itani's control over Lisa increased day by day, But as an experienced manipulator, he made it look as if his girlfriend wanted to do as he told her. He invaded literally every aspect of her life, leaving no hint of privacy. He forbade Lisa to use cosmetics, claiming that she wore too bright makeup, which made her look vulgar. He also bought her unsightly clothes in gray and black colors and threw away all her other outfits, arguing that they were too revealing and men would stare at her. Lisa only went out accompanied by her lover, and they visited only those places that he chose. Simon even forbade her to visit the gym, instead buying several expensive exercise machines so she could train at home. Lisa's social media friend lists dwindled by the day, and eventually, Itani convinced her to delete the accounts. She had no friends left in real life, and all her contacts and calls were closely monitored. Simon only allowed her to communicate with her mother and brother. In December 2010, Lisa decided to fly to Canada to celebrate Christmas with her family. Simon was going to fly with her, but at the last moment, his plans were disrupted because of urgent business matters. He didn't plan to let his girlfriend go alone, but she literally begged him because she hadn't seen her mom and brother for over a year. In the end, he agreed but set strict conditions and rules, which she had to strictly follow. Jason and Joanna were shocked at the changes that had happened to Lisa over the past year. She was nothing like the bright and cheerful beauty she had been before. She had literally become her own shadow. There was not a drop of makeup on her face. Her luxurious hair was pulled into a ponytail and hidden under a headdress, and her clothes were baggy, unattractive, and completely black. But it wasn't even the outward changes that were the most frightening. Lisa flinched every time the phone rang and instantly grabbed the receiver. It was one of Simon's conditions that she had to answer immediately at any time of day, no matter what she was doing. Lisa stayed at her mother's house all the time, refused to see her friends, and hardly ever went out. Joanna was alarmed and frightened by her daughter's behavior and decided to have a heart-to-heart talk with her. Then Lisa burst into tears and admitted that Simon always knew where she was, with whom she communicated, and what she talked about on the phone. Lisa also revealed that Simon didn't allow her to work, see her friends, go to the gym, or have any hobbies. In fact, she had no friends left at all. Her mother was shocked and began to persuade her daughter to stay in Canada because, in Australia, she had nothing to keep her. But Lisa said that she loved Simon and did not want to break off the relationship with him. Lisa was sure that this was just a transitional period in their relationship because they had been together for less than a year, and soon he would calm down and loosen his grip. She also added that her lover cared about her and wished her only good. Despite pleas from her family to stay and their attempts to convince Lisa that the relationship was unhealthy, she decided to move back to Australia to stay with Itani. Lisa reassured her mother, saying that there was nothing to worry about and that Simon loved her and would not hurt her. After Lisa returned, the situation only got worse. Simon forbade her to leave the apartment, and if they went out together, she had to look only at her feet so as not to meet the eye of other men. Moreover, Simon began to call Lisa by her second name, Cecilia, because it seemed more decent to him. In the spring of 2011, Lisa began to complain of pain in her leg. It was an old injury received in her youth during ballet classes, but instead of taking her to the hospital, Itani hired a female physical therapist who came to their home 3 times a week to give her massages. She soon became Lisa's only friend and confidant, to whom Lisa spoke candidly about the difficult situation she found herself in. On June 12th, for Lisa's 30th birthday, Simon decided to throw a party at the most expensive restaurant in Sydney, but among the guests were only Simon's relatives and people from his inner circle. On her own birthday, her boyfriend did not allow her to invite anyone. At the end of the evening, Lisa was left feeling isolated and controlled, with her once bright and joyful life now overshadowed by Simon's oppressive presence. Simon proposed to Lisa by putting a ring on her finger. Lisa responded with consent and then cried, but all present noticed that these were not tears of joy, but rather tears of despair and hopelessness. Back home, Lisa called her mother and informed her of her engagement, sobbing into the phone. Joanna was not at all happy about it. She began to persuade her daughter to leave this man and return home to Canada as soon as possible. In response, Lisa only asked her mother never to start such conversations on the phone, as she realized that her fiancé was listening to the calls, although she did not know for sure. For a while, Lisa tried to distract herself with thoughts of the upcoming wedding and began planning the festivities. When she decided to consult with Simon about something related to the event, he rudely cut her off and told her that he would choose the place, buy her address, and make the guest list. Lisa was utterly crushed, for she had no say even here. During another visit to the physiotherapist, Lisa admitted that she couldn't go on like this, but couldn't leave because her fiancé wouldn't let her go. Together, they developed a plan in which Lisa gave her belongings to the masseuse for safekeeping during each visit, ensuring Simon did not notice anything. A surveillance camera in the communal hallway, on the other hand, captured something frightening. The short clip shows Lisa running out of the apartment and calling for help, but her fiancé grabs her from behind, covers her mouth, and drags her back in. This happened a minute before she fell off the balcony, and it was this scream that the neighbors heard. Simon's laptop was found to contain a recording of a conversation he and Lisa had the night before the tragedy, as well as spyware that Simon used to spy on his fiancée. According to Simon, he and Lisa had an argument that morning, and she became hysterical. She ran out into the hallway screaming, but he brought her back because he didn't want to put on a show for the neighbors. In the apartment, he picked up the phone to call her mother, but Lisa ran out to the balcony at that moment and threw herself down. He ran after her, but did not catch her in time. He claimed that she had threatened to take her own life before, but he didn't take her words seriously. Simon attributed the spy program to his concern for his fiancée's safety. During the trial, Simon was accompanied by a new partner, a 22-year-old model named Rachel Louise, who was incredibly similar to his deceased fiancé. However, it was later said that the girl just wanted to become famous from this high-profile case and willingly talked to the press and appeared on television, saying that Simon would never raise his hand to a woman. Simon's lawyers tried to convince the court that Lisa suffered from a mental disorder, was prone to hysterics, and could have voluntarily passed away. Even a long history of anorexia and treatment in a clinic came up. The defense also argued that the defendant, being short in stature, simply could not physically lift Lisa, who was taller than him, and also could not throw her off the balcony. This version was refuted by a trainer from the gym, which Simon had attended regularly for many years. According to the trainer, the defendant worked with heavy weights, was much stronger than he appeared outwardly, and could easily have lifted Lisa. This was also supported by the absence of Lisa's fingerprints on the railing and the glass barrier, as she could not have jumped without leaning on them. Testifying in court was the physiotherapist to whom Lisa had told everything that had happened to her in detail and had given her belongings in the hope of escaping from the tyrant. Her testimony was decisive. Simon was found guilty of murdering his fiancée and sentenced to 26 years in prison, with the possibility of parole after 18 years. After the verdict was announced, Rachel Louise threw a tantrum and began to insult the judge, for which she was removed from the room. All attempts by Simon and his lawyers to challenge the court's decision were rejected, and the verdict remained in force. Rachel soon dumped her boyfriend, saying in an interview that it was difficult for them to maintain a relationship in prison, but she remains convinced of his innocence.